Hi friends, this is Camil Parkhe. In this episode, we are going to discuss the work Cynthia Farrar did in the field of education in Mumbai and later on in Nagar. At the beginning of the 19th century, many missionaries arrived in India. They were from America, Europe, England and Scotland. These missionaries had the habit of writing diaries. They wrote letters to their friends. Besides, they also wrote annual reports to their headquarters, in which they spoke about the work they had carried out, the schools and churches they had established, the people they had worked with, and these reports were sent to their mission headquarters to America, England, Scotland. These are the documents available to us for the past 200 years. And in these reports, we find scattered information about Miss Cynthia Farrar, who inspired Savitribai Phule to start school for girls, who gave lessons in teaching, who trained Savitribai as a teacher. These are one of the reports sent by American Marathi missions to their headquarters. Each year we have a separate documents of these reports. In these documents we find one page. American Marathi mission started its center in Nagar in 1831. When they completed 50 years, they had a special function in Nagar and Mumbai, where many memorial papers were read out and published later. In these documents, there is one page which mentions the names of all the missionaries who had arrived from America to India from 1831 to 1881. This page mentions all the names of the people. The missionaries, they arrived in India when they resigned, quit their job and went to their mother country, or when they died. This page, the last line says, Miss Cynthia Farrar arrived on December 29, 1827, died 25th January 1862. Friends, I am very happy that I have been able to bring out the life and works of Cynthia Farrar for the first time. This is the information which will be very useful for those who are researching the lives and works of Savitribai Phule and Savitribai. I am very happy to bring out this biography of Cynthia Farrar for the first time. In these reports, we find, I'm going to read out from the American Marathi missions papers. It says, I'm reading out, at the close of 1827, Miss Cynthia Farrar joined the mission and engaged in earnest efforts to improve the school for Hindu girls in Bombay. She labored incessantly for this object, and considering the strong prejudice of the natives at the time against female education, she achieved a wonderful success. In the report of the mission for 1829, it is stated that the number of the schools has been increased so that there were over 400 girls in attendance, of whom 120 were good readers and could write a fair, legible hand. In 1832, a public examination of these girls was held, of which the following account was given in a native paper of that time. It first appeared in Gujarati in the Bombay Hadkaru and Vartaman, and the English translation appeared in the Darpan. Darpan, incidentally, was started by Bal Shastri Jambekar in 1832. That is the first periodical in Marathi journalism. The report published in this periodical says, last Thursday, November 29th, there was an examination at the American Mission Chapel in Bhendi Bazar of the schools for Hindu girls. Many European ladies and gentlemen were present, and we also attended. At 11 o'clock, the children were examined in Marathi, which they read fluently. They answered questions promptly. After the examination, in reading was conducted, the girls' needlework, embroidery, and the stockings they had knitted were exhibited. This was the first time that a public examination was being held in India. We have known that before the arrival of the British in India, there was no universal education in India. The right to education was confined to only some members of the society. The girls, the Shudras, Atishudras, women, and the common masses were deprived the right to education. And this missionaries has succeeded in starting schools and giving education to all, inviting all sections of people to come and learn. I am going ahead with the report on Miss Cynthia Farrar. The schools in Bombay were continued in efficient operation for several years. Changed circumstances made it necessary afterwards to reduce the number of them. Miss Farrar's health failed, and a visit to America became imperative for her. Other laborers coming to the mission found themselves drawn into other spheres of effort. In 1884 and 1846, it is said in the report, Miss Farrar has had 4 girls' schools under her superintendence, containing over 100 pupils. She kept up several of these schools until 1862, the year of her death. Miss Farrar's careful superintendence of her schools and persistent several personal efforts often secured a measure of success where others would have failed. The difficulties Cynthia Farrar encountered were such as would have deterred most ladies at the outset from entering this kind of labor. Owing to the strong prejudice then existing against the education of girls, there was on the part of parents an utter want of appreciation of the values of the instruction girls had received and of the importance of regularity in school attendance. Hence, for any trivial reason, the girls might be suddenly withdrawn and kept at home or sent to some distant village for a month or even for 6 months visit. The custom of marrying the girls in childhood was itself nearly fatal to any plans for their proper education. The training under the tongue and the hand of the sasu, which means mother-in-law, was thought more important than the teaching in school. And therefore the girl was old enough to receive the full benefit of any course of study. She was often taken out of the school and sent to the home of her husband, which means to the home of his parents. It was chiefly by gaining the love of her pupils and making it pleasant for them to attend her school that Miss Farrar could keep them long enough to learn to read and to acquire a little knowledge of that truth, which has done so much for women in Christian hands. Yet, often she did lament that her life work bore so little fruit because the girls were withdrawn from her schools and remanded to all the evil influences of an labor adolescence home before there was time for the truth in gain a firm lodgment in their hearts. Others besides Miss Farrar have felt the above difficulty with regard to this kind of missionary labor. Most of the ladies of the mission and the different stations have kept up one or more such day schools for Hindu girls. In some places, the old prejudice has to be yielded as to allow the employment of Christian teachers. Thereon, soon after the first missionaries came to Ahmednagar, their wives began to collect a few native girls into schools. They taught them to read and write and also the first elements of Bible truth. This was the work Miss Cynthia Farrar did in Nagar. The difficulties she faced while retaining the girls in the schools, but yet her work had succeeded to great extent and it flourished, and gradually the opposition to girls' education was diminished. Many parents started sending their girls to schools on their own, and this was the fruit of the labor Cynthia Farrar Madam had done. Her work in Nagar, her subsequent contribution, we will discuss in next episode. Thank you.